Want the secret that every seven-figure contractor knows? They do not do their own estimating. Discover how elite construction companies use repeatable systems, software, SOPs to eliminate costly mistakes and free up the owner's time. First thing I'm going to be talking about is millionaire mindset. In order to be able to move past doing your own estimates, you're going to have to build a bit of a mindset. And this is probably where you've got stuck before. If you've ever tried to delegate this or have someone else do an estimate, maybe you hired it out to another company and the results were lackluster. What you need to understand is that 80% is good. And there's two different things. 80% is good as far as the accuracy, the scope, as well as the completion of the estimate. You don't need someone to do the whole 100% perfect turnkey estimate for you. That's unlikely going to happen, especially when you're doing this transition and working on getting a system in place that you can delegate to somebody else or another company. So 80% is good, and you are going to fine tune and improve that last 20% to make sure that the pricing's right, scope of work's right, everything is proper before you send the proposal out to the client. So that's the first mindset shift that you need to make, is that don't expect perfection. You just want to get most of the work handed off to someone else so that you can do less estimating, less weekends, crunching numbers, less evenings, less stressful days and nights. I don't like estimating. I'm sure that you probably have had enough as well. After about 1,000 or so estimates, time to give it up for somebody else. So the other thing is to work hard on systems. This is not going to be easy. As you probably have tried before, if you have tried, delegating estimating is a hard part. It's one of the few kind of last things that a lot of contractors give up because they know they have to in order to scale. And it's very integral to your business, because the estimating, everything stems from the estimating. Your profitability, the projects, client experience, estimating is super important. So it's understandable. So you need to work hard on the system. The final thing that I'm going to mention in mindset is long-term training. So you are investing in your business, you're investing in somebody else to delegate this or another company. I'm going to be getting into that in a second. Should you, hire in-house or delegate to another company, as well as you're going to want to watch the entire video, because I'm really taking you through the whole process of how to transition and never estimate ever again. And I know you want to get there. So long-term investment, the training that you're going to train someone, we're going to be getting into that as well, but don't expect miracles. Someone coming into this, they're not going to know you. They're not going to know your business. They're not going to have the experience that you have. So there is going to be this transition time where you're going to have to train, kind of hold someone's hand and figure out that these problems, mistakes, things that are coming up are opportunities to grow, to improve your system, to learn, to build a better business. You're with me here? Give this video a thumbs up if you haven't yet. Moving on to point number 2, estimating company or in-house. Which one should you choose? I would say both is possible. I've had a hard time finding good estimators, good estimating companies for clients, for myself. They seem to be few and far between. So spend some time, look for a good company. They're always a good backup, especially if you maybe haven't handed this off to someone, or if you know that certain times of year you just get super busy, inundated with estimates. And maybe if there's certain types of estimates, like a new home build, where you can just send them the plans and they provide an estimate for you, and they're good, you trust them, their pricing is in line with your pricing, it's someone good to have in your back pocket. I would not rely on another company to do my estimating for me, though, for a few reasons. First, it weakens your business, because now you're relying on a third party. If something happens to them or they have people going in and out, you never quite know the experience you're going to get, unless it's like you work with a company that is just one person that estimates and they've been doing it for like 30 years. Maybe you've got some consistency there, but it's better to do it in-house. So first priority is in-house. Having an estimator or two in your back pocket when things get really busy can be an asset for your company. All right. Moving on to point number 3 here, going in order, is the setup. Before you delegate your estimating off to someone else, you're going to need to set up a system that's repeatable, that makes sense, that you can create some training around. If you are just having someone, come from site, project manager, whoever it is, and I suggest having a project manager do the estimating for a few reasons. First one is they're going to be doing the project. So the feedback loop is there, because they're going to estimate the project and then they're going to manage the project. So they're better they better understand what's gone into the project. Doing the project management, they're going to have a better understanding of the financials and just everything that went into it. And then if there is mistakes or places where the budget's gone over or under or whatever, because they've estimated, they have a direct feedback loop and they know for the next one. So it's easier to improve their estimating over time rather than having like a dedicated estimator. If you're at that point where you need a dedicated estimator that's estimated like, every day, all day, then you are probably in a place where I doubt you're doing all the estimating right now because you already need that. So that's like the next step after the project managers. I still prefer project managers be doing estimating for what I mentioned. But if you're growing and you've got like 10 project managers or 5 project managers and you need an in-house like dedicated estimator, this will work as well. And even more important to have that set up in place to make sure that things are going good. So what are you looking for in setup? What's important here? Software. You need to have the right software in place. And for me, typically speaking, some project management softwares out there, there's a number of them. They have an estimating component. Usually that is good enough, along with some sort of takeoff software. Sometimes they're integrated, sometimes they're not. But those are the big two. You need like a project management type software. You might call it CRM or field software or whatever that has estimating where you can put in your points, you can build a proposal, all those things, put in your pricing, all that stuff. Have your cost database is super important as well as your vendors list. Because if you are handing this off to someone else, you need some pricing and a way for them to figure out pricing that makes sense. You need them to be able to contact vendors to get pricing, whether that's a sub trade or a supplier or whoever, as well as training resources. So you're going to have to, what are the training resources? If you have programs that you've purchased, we have courses for estimating. There's lots of other courses out there. There's lots of videos. I've got other YouTube videos on estimating. Compile a bunch of resources that a new person can watch. They can come in, they can go through some training, maybe some exercises, so that you've got that in place. So this is the setup. And now we're going to get into the actual system that you're going to put into place for someone to follow in order to get rid of all that estimating and never do it again. Hey, all right. So now that you got something set up, just before I move on to point number 4 here, a good mindset thing to remember is if I had to do this 1,000 times, how would I want this done? So when you're building out your system for this estimating that you're going to delegate to someone, think about that. Right now, you're probably like, I throw in numbers off my experience. I've done this so much. I check out this website or whatever. Is that the way you're going to want someone to do it 1,000 times? You're going to be now, paying someone that needs to do this consistently. You may have to have different people doing it. So keep that in mind. 1,000 times, you want the system to be efficient, streamlined, and simple, which is not easy. Simple is not easy, and I think that's a misconception a lot of people make. All right, moving on to point number 4. So the fourth thing that you need in getting this off your plate is the SOP document. And this is going to be one document, estimating, SOP, and it's going to have everything in it. But you want to bite size it and chunk it into the main different areas of estimating. So you're going to have, scope of work. How do you create a scope of work? How do you enter the items? How do you do takeoffs? Every piece is going to have a different thing. How do you decide on the pricing? How do you decide if you get different pricing from different places or what have you, right? So what's the decisions that need to be made? Everything in there should be in the SOP. When you're getting started, this can be a big undertaking. So you don't want to go overboard, and it's better to have big pieces and main steps, and you can always fine tune it and build it out later when you're going through it and actually training someone, because they're probably going to have questions, things are going to come up, you're going to have to adjust it and add to it anyways. So don't get overwhelmed with having like tons of detail. You want something kind of in the middle where there's enough for them to know the process and kind of the reason behind it or what they should be doing, but not so much where it's like click here, go there, open this, do that. Like it doesn't need to be all granular at this point, because next step, I'm going to be showing you how to get that information to them without having to take a whole bunch of your time, which is what we're all about. Rapid results, low amount of time, big impact. So that's the important thing for your SOP document. The next step, number 5 here, still with me. This is step by step. So you're starting at the beginning, we're going through. So after you got your SOP document in place for estimating, now you're going to record a video. And the reason you do the SOP first is because while you're recording the video, you're going to be following the SOP. It makes things simple because now you've created a system, you've got it from your brain onto paper. I know that can be a challenge, but once you got that SOP, now it's easy to create a training video. You're going to jump on. I like to use Zoom. You can use whatever. And you're going to record your screen and you're going to show the actual SOP document, Google Doc, whatever, on your screen. This is the SOP document. This is what you follow. Let them know that the SOP takes priority and precedence over the training video because training videos get outdated. Software changes, you may change the software, you may change the process, but the SOP document is a lot easier, right? You just go in, you type some things, you move things around, copy paste, whatever. A video, you're not going to be wanting to make a video, every 6 months or 3 months when you change the document because it's a waste of time. The video is there to create an overall feel and kind of show them what's important and express in language all the things that you're not like small details you're not going to put in the SOP document. So you're going to record that. Doesn't need to be anything crazy or fancy. This is just for internal recording. And with that video, you're going to want to make sure that you're not just doing one long video. I made this mistake. Used to make this mistake is I would do a training video for my company and I would get on there. The video could be 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. I'd go through like everything that I needed to express. And then I would give it to someone and they're like, I, you know, I don't know where to find this or that or whatever, right? So they'd have to like search through the video. So make it bite size again. Do a video on how to do takeoffs. Do a video on how to create a scope of work. Do a video on how to find the right pricing. And make smaller videos from the different segments of your SOP because later as well, if you need to update it, let's say like, you know what, we like totally changed the software we're using. So that whole like how to do this part of the estimating is no longer relevant. Well, now instead of changing the whole video, you can just change that part of the video that was to do with like how to, enter the things in the software or what have you. So a lot easier to keep updated and fresh when you've got smaller videos. Making sense? You with me here? All right. So moving on to number 6. So 6 is a very important concept and idea, and that is your walkthrough process has to be spectacular. You need your walkthrough process when you go with the client, and it doesn't have to be just like the walkthrough process. If you're doing like new home builds and you're just estimating from plans, whatever information you've got from the client needs to be complete because you're probably still doing the sales, I'm guessing, and you're meeting the client, or if you're not, whoever your salesperson is, but the information from the field, the information from the client, it needs to be complete, it needs to be full, it needs to be enough for the estimator to get a picture because this is where a lot of problems come up and why a lot of contractors struggle with delegating this as well because you've probably been to the house, you met the client, you've seen the place, you've talked with them, maybe the designers, the architect, whoever, and now you're handing this off and it's like, here's some plans or here's like a sketch and here's like my notes from the site. And the person you've delegated to is like scratching their head, like, what does he mean, laminate throughout, but not this room or, you know, like what are these 8 foot, 9 foot walls? Like all these like questions, right? And that's gonna be natural. There's gonna be some questions, but having a good process for the walkthrough, getting a lot of pictures, getting some nice notes and a way to hand it over, having like some sort of scope of work settled out, making sure like all the information gets to the estimator and that you also have like a handoff meeting with them. So this could be with a designer or architect too, if they're in there. Bring them on board so that they have everything they need in order to estimate this project. All right. So now we're moving on to number 7. All right, we got number 7 here. So congratulations, you've just done something. I don't know what percentage, but I would say a very small percentage of contractors actually get to this point where they are ready to now delegate and hand off estimating and never do it again. Number 7 is train and delegate. So now you've got the system, you got the processes, you got the documents, you got the training videos, everything you need to now hand this off. As you can see, there's a lot of work and setup and thought that goes into that goes before you actually even begin to train someone or hand this off. And that is the difference between effectiveness and chaos and failure, which happens to so many. So the way to train someone is you probably want to give them either a test project. So test them out on like a previous project that you've estimated, give it to them and say, hey, I'd like you to estimate this, do your best, and then you can compare how do they two look. It's like, well, you were, over mine by 20,000 or under mine by by 15,000 or whatever, right? So what was the difference? Why did you do this? That's where you've got like an easy comparison. The other option is to give them easy projects. So if you've got like a smaller project, something very easy, small kitchen renovation, or maybe just like a very cookie cutter new home build that they're estimating from plans, something like that, start them on something smaller and simple so they can get a feel for it and you can work out kinks before you ask them to do something more in depth or with more variables and things like that. There's a saying that I like to say is new mistakes are good mistakes. They're going to make mistakes, they're going to mess up, and it's not going to be easy. There's going to be friction, some chaos, and that comes with just someone learning something and doing something new. If it's a new mistake that they're making, that's good. That means there's progress. It means they're trying something. That means they're doing stuff. People that don't make mistakes don't do anything and they're generally useless. So making mistakes, good. Making the same mistake over and over and over again, that's bad. So if you have an estimator, someone who's estimating, and it's like they've done a number of estimates for you and they're still making that same mistake, maybe it's time to cut your losses, find someone else, move on, or figure out why do you continue to make this mistake? What's wrong with our process? How can we make sure this doesn't happen again? So just that's in general, really. But according, like as far as estimating, that's the how I would look at it. All right. After they've completed the estimate, you always want to make sure that you are reviewing it together for a number of reasons. First, you don't want to be walking into a proposal with a client and be underpriced on a project because of some, small mistake, rookie mistake, because the person's new at estimating. So you always want to review it together. At first, you're going to go a little bit more detailed, make sure the pricing, make sure the takeoffs, think you're going to like double check, triple check as much as you need to make sure everything's good. Again, starting on a smaller project, the numbers are probably smaller. So if they're a little bit off, it's, not the end of the world. But review it, give them feedback, change some things up, whatever you need to do, get it ready. Then you can present it to the client. Now, what you've effectively done is with this review, you're now spending maybe 10%, 5% of the time you were before on estimating. And that is the goal. It may not be 100%, like you don't have to ever think about it ever again, but you're never going to have to do the estimating, the crunching the numbers, the takeoffs, the scope of work, all of that stuff. You're just reviewing and providing feedback, and someone else is doing it. So you've just saved a ton of time and got that rid of, and now you can level up in your business. The last thing with the training and delegating to delegate effectively is feedback. Feedback is critical. So you want to give feedback, but you also want to receive feedback. And the feedback that you need to give is, so they can do a better job. And you always want to be asking them, how was this process? How did you find the estimating? Is there anything you think we could improve in the process? Because you want to utilize their intelligence, their expertise, and their different perspective on things to say, hey, maybe we should do this differently. Hey, I worked at this other job and they actually used, this software, or they presented their proposal this way. So always be asking for feedback. That's how you get that improving system. Things are moving and jiving, and your system keeps improving itself every single time, getting better and better, just like these videos for you, hopefully. So go check out my other video here. All the best with estimating. You've done something incredible. I'm impressed.